Today, I want to talk about fear and your inner critic because it is very common at this part of this healing journey, this healing process, and specifically this break free program that subconscious fears are going to start to come to the surface. Yes, we've been clearing them along the way, but we've done a lot of deep clearing. And so now some of those sneaky hidden ones might start to come out. It's also very common that as you step into a more embodied full expression of yourself, as you start to really show up in a more liberated way, that inner critic might want to come out. So I want to talk about those two things today because it is bound to happen, but it is so much easier to manage than we think if we can just be aware of it. And so I want you to start to really notice when fear or the inner critic comes out. And even if you can't address it in the moment, you can start just journaling it, putting it, I put it in my notes app on my phone so I can go back to it at the end of the day and like really dive into what happened there. But one of the things with fear is it's really sneaky and it can come through in ways that sound like um, responsible ways of being or maybe thoughtful ways of being. It can come through in so many ways. I'm going to read you some of the examples which might help you understand. And the inner critic comes up as well and is usually not even you. It is usually the voice of one of your caretakers, right? Like the parents, teachers, like the adults who are in charge of us at really young ages. It is usually their voice that is critiquing you, but it's now living in your head. So we've got to look at both of these things because that will stop you if you're not aware of it. So some of the classic fear phrases I hear from people is like, well, I want that thing, but it's not time. I'm not ready for it yet. Now's not the right time. You want this thing, but now's not the right time. What? You want this thing really bad, but you don't have time to go after it? Oh, you're going to start in 2 years? You want all that money, but you don't have time to figure out how to make it, or you don't have time to align your subconscious to receive more money. What if I fail? I'm too old. I'm too young. I just don't even know where to start with all of that. I don't want to disappoint anyone. It's going to be too hard. It's going to take 10 years to build a business like that. This is fear. This is not reality. This is not you being responsible. This is not you thinking logically and realistically and rationally. This is fear masking as that. Okay. If you are ever saying, I'm just being realistic, you're not, you're afraid. Sometimes I hear people say things like, that's just not who I am. I'm just not one of those people who posts. I'm just not one of those people who brags. I'm just not one of those people who. That is your fear. You actually want that thing. Your fear is showing up and saying you're not the person who does the thing who gets what they want. I don't want to be too much. I'm not, I need to learn more before I start. I need more certifications. I need more experience before I start. This is your fear. This is not real. This is not like a responsible, rational, logical way of thinking or approaching business, which is where I see people kind of come at these things is like, well, it's not time to do that. It's like, it's always time. It's always time. It's always available to you. It's just your fear masking. So I want you to go through this worksheet. I've listed out, I don't know how many different fears and all the different types of sneaky ones that go. And I want you to just circle anything that you're thinking of right now. And then I also want you to keep these statements in the back of your mind because inevitably, when you are later thinking about, and this could be 2 weeks later, thinking about a thing that you want, and you say, well, yeah, I do really want that, but now's not the right time, maybe in like a year. I want you to stop in that moment and be like, what am I afraid of that I am putting this thing I want off for a year? Why? Why am I not ready? Why is now not the time? Oh, it would require a lot of hard work. Okay, now you're telling yourself another lie. No, it doesn't require hard work. If it didn't require hard work, would I want that thing right now? Well, I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready to have it yet. Why are you not ready to have it? But I want you to go down this rabbit hole and challenge everything you say until you get to the root of what that fear is, which is that maybe you're afraid to have the love that you want because you'll lose it. Maybe you're afraid to have the money that you want because you'll lose it. Maybe you're afraid to have the visibility that you want because people will find out you're not who they thought they thought you were. You're not who you thought you were. Like, get to what that root is because that is where real liberation happens. Okay. These are not bad thoughts. These are not bad things. These are old parts of you still protecting yourself. So this is where the next layer of liberation comes up. Okay. And then I want you to like decode it. What is it trying to protect me from? How can I tell myself the truth? How can I create new statements or affirmations that support this new thought process? Money is easy, right? Money doesn't take 10 years. It's not going to take XYZ amount of time to build the business, to write the book, to publish my music, to whatever it is. If that were available tomorrow, what fear does that bring up? Let's decode it. And then how do we create a new belief that says, I could have that tomorrow. It's easy. It gets to be easy. It gets to be fun. I'm already ready. I'm worthy. I'm deserving. I have everything I need. Like, how can we get there, right? So I want you to go through that and the fears. And I just want you to be super aware of when these fears come into play. And then I want you to look for the inner critic, because the inner critic's been living with you for a long time. So the inner critic, again, is the caretaker voice. It is not your own voice. It's so important you know that. I know it sounds like you. I know it lives in your head, but it is not you. It is someone who said this to you or made you feel this way as a child. The voice that says that you're not good enough, that you're going to mess this all up, that you can't handle it, that people aren't going to like you. The voice that says every time you want to step forward, like, don't do it because it's dangerous. Whatever that voice is, I want you to meet that inner critic, okay? And as you hear this inner critic, and I'll give you an example, a personal example. When I first started launching courses and programs, I would be so excited and I'd be like infused with this like creative energy, and I'd create it and I'd be like over the moon. I'm going to change people's lives. This feels so good. I'm so excited to share this. It's so important. And then it would come time to launch it and I'd be like, nobody needs this. Nobody wants this. Who am I? Like, that is not my voice. That is not me. But I had to like really get a grip on my thoughts to realize when this would come up, to stop myself in that moment and be like, who is that? And I could decode it by the tone and be like, that's who that is. That was that person's belief. That is not my belief. My belief is everybody needs my creations. My belief is every creation I put out there is worthy of being experienced. It's worthy of being loved. It's worthy of whatever it is I want to experience or share with the world. Everything I do is worthy. And so I had to reprogram that. I had to decode whose voice that was. I had to decode the tone that was there and why it was trying to stop me. What was it protecting me from? God forbid I put something out and people not love it. Who cares? I created it because I want to create it. Right? Like, of course, on the other side of that, you want these good outcomes. But as soon as I let go of the outcome and I'm like, I'm just creating for me, that's when the magic happens. But either way, we gotta tap into the inner critic. So there might be statements you say most often. Maybe you criticize the way you look or your body every time you pass a mirror. Maybe every time you think about your career, you like self-deprecate yourself. Maybe every time you think about love, you self-deprecate. Like, what are these critical phrases that you always think of? And then I want you to think about the patterns that you notice, right? Does it come up when you are getting ready to up level? Does it come up mainly around visibility, money, love? Like, what does this come up around? And then I want you to write like an inner script here, right? So let's take that bit of that critical thought and respond. Oh, I don't know if I want to do that because I don't know, it's never really worked for me before. I don't really follow through on things. I don't know. I always kind of give up before I get to the outcome I want. The liberated version of you is like, no, that's a survival pattern. That was true in the past, but I've liberated myself from that. I've liberated myself from that version of me who was stuck and just overburdened with wounds and fears and pain. This version of me has the tools and the support and the self-trust. I finish everything I start. I believe in myself. I always show up for myself. I always follow through. I will always show up. And then you start to coach yourself through that. Okay, and you know how I love a good affirmation rant. This would be a great place to do it. And then I want you to also, now you've got kind of like, these are the voices that I always hear. These are the things they always say about me. I know how I'm going to respond to them. And now we practice in the moment, even when the random thing comes up. Before, I used to walk by a mirror and the first thing I would do is criticize myself. Like, oh, your hair doesn't look great. Now, every time I walk by a mirror, the first thing I do is I'm like, I love you. You are beautiful. You are perfect. You're amazing. Like, it's such a response now. It took me a while to get there. But I started noticing like, oh, I say mean things to myself when I pass a mirror. Or, oh, my first thought is to criticize myself here. How do I change that? And then you start to reprogram. And now I want you to create habits that allow you to be in this energy. This is, again, I think I've mentioned it multiple times throughout this program. Your morning routine is so important. It literally sets the tone for the day. So have that morning meditation, the breath work, the journaling, the gratitude, like establishing the frequency of your day. Today, I'm going to love myself. Today, I will silence every inner critic. And every time that inner critic tries to speak up, I will silence it and I will create a new belief. Today, I am going to bring joy to everyone I see, especially myself. Today, I'm going to smile throughout my day. Today, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be magical. Like, set the tone of your day and then commit to it. And then every time that inner critic comes up, you want to silence it. So remember, the voice of fear can no longer rule you as soon as you decide that to be true. When you meet your doubts with devotion, okay? When you speak to yourself with power and when you walk forward, even when the voice is shaky, because here's the thing, courage isn't having a lack of fear, it's moving forward with fear. But fear can no longer rule you the moment you decide that's true. And that is a true decision you have to literally make to say, I'm no longer letting fear stop me. So when fear comes up, when the inner critic comes up, when these things come up, I'm going to address them and I'm going to keep moving forward. And that is the only way to detach yourself and fully liberate.